I kind of think of Shelley as like the Justice League. Everyone talks about, Brindley Cannon, but they're kind of like the Justice League. They just have a nice set of characters that back them up.
When it comes to high school sports, East Idaho never gets its due.
I ran into Jeremy Hess, the AD of Grace Lutheran, and, he was just excited. And then, I'm just talking to him and he goes, we have 7 girls. So just amazing.
But the East Idaho Prepcast has changed that, covering the biggest sports stories from Salmon all the way down to Bear Lake.
And again, Grace is always that team just kind of lurking, like, yeah, there's Grace. They don't have social media, but you know what? They have footballs, they got grass, and they got pads, and they use all those very well.
It's the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean Kane on IdahoSports.com.
Hey folks, sorry about that little miscue there. Welcome to the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Joel Richardson breaking down top stories from Districts 5 and 6 from Idaho High School Athletics. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the East Idaho Prepcast so you know when each show drops week in and week out. You can watch this show on IdahoSports.com's Facebook page, YouTube channel, or X account. And don't forget, you can also get this podcast on IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcast. It's August. It's Wednesday night, 10/2/2024. Let's bring in our East Idaho expert and insider, Sean Kane. Sean, nice buttoned up tie on. What's going on?
I was looking down here. I was just checking the rankings, right? IdahoSports.com has all the rankings top to bottom for you. And, the number one Prepcast is the East Idaho Prepcast. I just felt like we had to dress it up and, make it look good because it's number one right now. So I'm very proud to be here.
Sean got on the camera. He was all buttoned up, tie on. So you know what? I decided I needed to button up as well. So we got our top buttons. Sean's got the tie making us look good. Let's do this. Sean, it's October. We are there. We are into playoff mode for golf. We're getting close for soccer. Football's about halfway over. Volleyball, with just a few weeks out from volleyball doing their districts. A lot of good stuff going on. Let's get right to it. First of all, though, here on the East Idaho Prepcast, we got to celebrate a couple great, one great individual and one great team from this last week. First off, the East Idaho Athlete of the Week is going to go to junior quarterback Keaton Belnap of Highland.
Yeah, I was at this game, the Black and Blue Bowl versus Pokey, and Keaton Belnap, the Marsh Valley transfer, learning the offense, came in and just had a phenomenal game leading that offense. Being the general back there was Keaton Belnap, and I can't think of too many more deserving to come in. He almost didn't play that game, right, Joel? Right. So comes in 107 yards, 2 TDs, 1 throwing TD, 1 on the ground, a 28-18 win over the Pocatello Thunder to win the Black and Blue Bowl again for the 14th time in a row right now. And what a great tradition of a game going back to 1963. So, congratulations to Keaton Belnap for being that athlete of the week and just overcoming some adversity.
Yeah, and that adversity, let's dive into that just a little bit. He had a fever, headache, sore throat. He had missed the first 20 minutes of class on, I believe it was Friday, right, Sean? And team rule is if you can't play if you miss 1 hour of class. So he had also texted. He had texted his kind of backup quarterback, one of his wide receivers, Alvarico, and said, "Dude, you may have to fill in for me. I'm feeling terrible." But Keaton got up, got dressed, got to school before that hour of class had ticked off, and he was able to get enough fluids in him, get ready for the game, and went off. Sometimes, Sean, when you're a little bit under the weather, you're not totally, I don't know what the word is, but
fluid.
Yeah, fluid. That's right. You aren't worried so much about everything's going on because you're just trying to walk, right? You're just trying to throw the ball. Sometimes that you end up playing a little more loose and you play actually really well when you're a little bit under the weather.
Yeah, you just Both coaches, Dave Spillett from Pocatello, Dave Sorrell from Highland, will both tell you, that the week leading up to this game is you want to block out everything, right? You just want to focus on your team, what you need to do. If you're not feeling well, it's super easy to block everything else out and rest and whatever it takes, because that's what Highland's pretty much done all years, just found a way to win games. I will also say the Pocatello Thunder looked good. I don't know if we're giving them enough credit as we should be right now, but that's a team playing very well with Hunter May leading them back there. A couple plays go a different way. Who knows how this game ends up? A fake punt later on in the game was kind of devastation for the Thunder, but they don't go for that fake punt. I mean, who knows what happens? It was a great game.
Yeah, it was. And Pocatello, I think they're top 10, if I'm not wrong, Sean, in max preps. They're going to be just fine. Highland, they continue to find ways to win, like you said, especially using that special teams. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Want a little shout out. I believe, Sean, this is a family member of yours. Someone in particular.
That would be my mom.
Your mom. Okay. So I think she was congratulating you for celebrating the best podcast in Idaho, of course, wearing the tie buttoned up.
Might not be listed anywhere, but me and Joel know.
We know. It's fine. We know. So thank you, Kathy Lawson, for coming in here and saying hi and congratulating us for our championship of being the best Idaho Prepcast. Speaking of people or teams, Sean, who continue to find a way to win, Madison volleyball, they are undefeated. Went undefeated in the Madison's Battle of the Best tournament. Madison volleyball is our team of the week.
Yeah, easy, right? We've talked about them here and there. We knew this was going to come. It's just kind of like, when are you going to throw in the Bobcats volleyball team? 22-0, 28 straight at home. They haven't lost since October 28th, 2023. They're on 2 straight titles, so we're looking for the three-peat. This is a team that is built to win. They say practice is harder than their matches, and I understand that as a coach. Is if you're going out and practicing like this is your last day on earth, and that's kind of what Bobcats are doing. They're just really playing really well, and they're not extremely old either. It's still kind of there's some young mixes in this team. So, I mean, we're looking at a 3-peat maybe this year and maybe a 4-peat. What a culture they're cultivating right now at Madison in the volleyball program. Just absolutely outstanding.
So congrats to Madison volleyball for having an amazing season, amazing 2 seasons. Haven't lost, like you said, Sean, since October 20th, 2023. Looking for that 3rd straight title. There's a couple teams, North Idaho, the Boise area, that are going to be that have something to say about that. But hey, East Idaho, we're number 1. We're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're the champion until someone beats it, right? So right now, Madison's the champions until someone beats them, and they've went and played hard teams. They've played some Boise teams. They've done the things they need to do. So, congrats to them. And going forward, they're definitely a team to watch out for. Number 1, obviously, in the polls on IdahoSports.com, and for good reason. Yeah.
So congrats to Madison, and congrats also to junior quarterback Keaton Belnap from Highland for being our athlete and team of the week. Sean, this last week, we had some great football games. You and I, let's go through our picks from the week. There was Declo Westside, Mackey Rockland. We both chose those games, or we both chose one of those games as our interesting game of the week. Declo beat Westside, something we did not see coming, 6-0. So we both lose on that one. And then Rockland beat Mackey 52-20, which we both guessed correct on that one. So we both get the win there. Sean, you're now at 9-3. I'm at 8-4. But forget our records. How about Declo beating Westside 6-0? What happened there?
I mean, it's just a defensive battle. It's a rematch of the 2023 2A state championship game. And yeah, I mean, when's the last time Westside's been shut out in a game, right?
You got to go back past 2010.
Yeah, you have to go back so far to where Westside's been even shut out of a game. So, I mean, credit to Declo, right? 6-0, you're doing what it takes to win. I mean, maybe we're not giving Declo as much credit as they should. But I mean, 6-0 game, you kind of throw everything out the window, and it's, who maybe just who had the ball last or who has one more possession. I mean, that's just as close as you can cut it.
And, interestingly enough, Declo scored on their first drive. They got 6. They didn't get the 2-point conversion. Westside was inside their 10-yard line twice, inside Declo's 10-yard line twice. They couldn't score. Then they were inside the 35-yard line of Declo, couldn't score. So in the end, I mean, Westside had their chances. Declo's defense just stood them up and shut them down.
Yeah, so you definitely, Declo's defense could have been a player of the game, right? Easily.
Right.
Easily been the player of the game, because shutting out Westside is no easy feat, and they had opportunities, but sometimes if you can just get that early score in a defensive battle, that's all it takes, and that's what Declo did.
Now, one thing to keep in mind: Westside was without their star running back Crew Sage, out with injury. Hopefully, he'll be back soon, as Westside looks to finish obviously stronger, but as they start the back end of their season. So Declo beats Westside 6-0. And then we talked about Rockland already beating Mackey 52-20. We both won on that one. Sean, let's go through a conference game of note. Madison beat Thunder Ridge. Hillcrest beat Shelley. Firth beat Ryrie. Chalice beat North Gym 40-38, by the way. But the game that was most interesting to us, or the outcome that was most interesting to us, was Blackfoot beating Bonneville 16-12.
Yeah, definitely, because you've got a conference where you kind of feel like Sugar, or it's not Sugar, holy Anna, Skyline and Hillcrest probably going to take the 2 spots, and then maybe an at-large bid that's kind of lurking between a bunch of teams. So that win for Blackfoot, I think, is huge, because Blackfoot, knocked off Pocatello, so their max prep ranking, just because of that win, could be higher going forward. So getting through Bonneville, which Bonneville almost beat Bishop Kelly early in the year.
Right.
So you've got a lot of parity going on, and I would say that maybe that third bid from District 6.
Yeah. Right now in Baney's brackets, a little teaser for Gem State game day that'll be published or broadcasted Thursday. Bishop right now, Brandon and Baney's brackets that are coming out now. It's October, Sean, so it's time for Baney's brackets. It's the most wonderful time of the year. He has Blackfoot playing Valley View, Blackfoot being a 10 seed, Valley View being a 7 seed, but Blackfoot playing Valley View, who is a much better team than last year, mind you, but Blackfoot getting, like you say, Sean, that 3rd seed from District 6.
Yeah, and Blackfoot's that team kind of like a Shelley was last year. I don't think you want to play them first round, because they run the ball extremely well. And as we get later in the season in Idaho, weather's a factor. Mm-hmm. And running the ball when it's cold outside, if you have to play that game outside, is huge. And right now, Blackfoot Broncos are able to run the ball efficiently, and that could play dividends later on in the season.
Yeah, so very good game from Blackfoot beating Bonneville 16-12. Looking forward to what Blackfoot can do in this second half of the season. Going over some football rivalries. It was rivalry week here in East Idaho and in Magic Valley too, but we're focused here on East Idaho. The Black and Blue Bowl, we already talked about that. Highland beating Pokey 28-18, and the Emotion Bowl, Skyline walloped Idaho Falls, blanked them, shut them down, whatever you want to call it, 47-0. Sean, you're at both games. Which game? Well, obviously, Highland Pokey was more interesting because Pokey scored points, frankly. But what outcome is more interesting to you, and why?
Well, I think for the Highland Pocatello game, I think Highland had to win, just as far as 6A goes. Mm-hmm. They're ranked very high. They haven't lost a game. They needed to win that game. For Pokey, is what we learn is, I think, is Pokey's a lot better than maybe we thought on paper. I think Pokey graduated 20 plus seniors. A lot of those seniors played. There's a lot of question marks. Pokey came in and competed with the defending state champions in the Highland Rams, right?
Right.
So
that's a big deal.
I think that was very important. The Skyline Idaho Falls game, me and you were both there. Obviously the score, it was a blowout, but what I took from it is Skyline is really good, and they're justified in their ranking with their record right now. I think in the coaches poll. It's a team that's defensively extremely solid, and it's a team offensively that has more weapons than the Ming Dynasty at this point.
More weapons in the Ming Dynasty. That might be the title for our podcast tonight. Skyline, you mentioned Skyline's their record justifies, or their ranking justifies their performance so far in the field. They're number 2, just behind Bishop Kelly. I would love to see Skyline play Bishop Kelly. One thing that was interesting watching Skyline, and now I've watched them. This is my 3rd game broadcasting or being camera crew for Skyline, for a Skyline game for Idaho Sports, was their penalties. Something that they can clean up. They're not perfect. They're a great team, like you say, Sean, but too many penalties, especially in that IF game, just holds, false starts, jumping the gun a little bit, offsides. IF got them a few times just with hard counts. So something that Skyline can clean up as they're looking to push the second half of the season and claim that high seed, but also look for maybe there's a chance to play Bishop Kelly in the championship.
Yeah, definitely. And like, just piggybacking on you, the coaches polls came out today, October 2nd, and Skyline's number 1 in the coaches poll.
Okay.
Over Bishop Kelly. So
interesting.
Pretty interesting. You have Skyline number 1, Bishop Kelly number 2, Minico 3, and then another East Idaho team at 4, Hillcrest. So
right.
District 6 again, a nightmare for teams wanting to go to state because they're all so competitive.
Yeah. So and if we had more time, it would be very interesting to compare the media, coaches, and max preps and see what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Well, there is a team on here that really doesn't quite make sense, and very interested to see kind of how things play out for them. But for Skyline, yeah, so far their ranking and coaches, media, and max preps is all standard. It's all chalk, so they say, for Skyline and their performance on the field. So looking ahead for football, Sean, this weekend we have Rigby Highland, number 2 Rigby at number 6 Highland. When I say those rankings, I'm talking about max preps rankings. That's going to be the IdahoSports.com game of the week, where we put a little more polish, add a couple cameras, have a producer, and it's a really good time, really good broadcast. North Fremont is going to be at Aberdeen. That's a huge game. That's going to be number 4, North Fremont at number 1, Aberdeen. Nuke versus SCIC. And then another interesting game, number 6, Ryrie, again, max preps rankings, at number 9, West Jefferson. Of those 3 games, Sean, which one is most interesting to you?
Oh man, I've got to go North Fremont, Aberdeen, right?
Nice.
I think that's the hardest.
Love it.
That's the hardest one on paper to pick. It's a matchup of defense versus offense. You've got Aberdeen, which I think has, for me, overachieved what I thought, what I think isn't that important, but they've done really well. So I'm going to go Aberdeen, just defensively, what they've been able to do. I'm going to go Aberdeen taking down North Fremont in a very maybe low scoring affair, which North Fremont has not had to deal with so far this year.
I'm going to agree with you, Sean. I'm going Aberdeen as well. I like Aberdeen's offense. Really love their defense. I don't think North Fremont has the defense enough to stop Aberdeen. Huskies are averaging more than 42 points per game. That's big time. I don't think they've played as tough opponents as Aberdeen has. They've given up just 9.5, but the better scoring defense is Aberdeen, who's given up 8. Just slightly different, but I think that's going to be enough. But hey, both teams are undefeated in conference play. They're both undefeated in overall record. Nuke versus SCIC, Sean. It's going to be awesome. Oh, and by the way, both teams are coming off byes, so plenty of rest for North Fremont, Aberdeen, but we're both going with Aberdeen. The game I'm going to choose, Sean, is going to be Rigby at Highland. I shouldn't do this because I'm going to be on that broadcast with Brandon Bainey. You never choose games where you're going to be broadcasting because that's kind of in the back of your head and you don't want to get biased. But I got to choose that game, especially because we have another comment here coming in from the audience. Amelia Lugo, go Rigby, she says. Now we need someone else to come in and say, go Highlands. So we have a nice battle going on. But thanks, Amelia Lugo, for your comment. Go Rigby indeed. Hoping that's going to be a great game. Should be a great game. Rigby has played maybe a slightly more difficult schedule, but it's really close. I'm really just delaying. I'm filibustering right now, Sean, so I don't have to make a pick.
Yeah, you got to go first.
But I got to go first. So I'm going to make a pick. Oh, man, especially with Amelia saying go Rigby, I feel like I got to – oh, man, this is so tough. I shouldn't have picked this. This was the mistake. But I'm going to go – oh, man. I'm going to go Rigby. I'm going to go Rigby beating Highland. I'm a Pocatello. I live here in Pocatello. So, I've got a soft spot in my heart for the Pocatello schools. But I'm going to go Rigby winning this game only because, and not just because they're number 2 in the Max Preps. I think Rigby's played a harder schedule. They only have 2 games at home. And I think this is going to be a major test. And if Rigby wins this, it'll also create chaos in the 6A rankings. I'm going Rigby.
All right. Well, I mean, I was hoping you wouldn't pick this one, but
I'm sorry.
I've seen Highland. I've broadcasted Highland twice.
Right.
I've watched them other times. I'm also gonna go Rigby, and that's and I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it. I just feel like Rigby has won games decisively.
Yep.
And I feel like Highlands found a way to win. And when 2, opposite forces, come into each other, I feel like finding, the team that's just won decisively has a little bit more of an edge. And I like Rigby's offense to be able to produce long drives. And I like the Rigby defense to maybe halt some of the long drives Highlands may be able to produce. But I could be totally wrong. I think this conference is going to be very interesting. Also, when both these teams play a undefeated Madison team that's much improved, I think there's a lot going on there. If Highland doesn't turn the ball over, I think it'll be very close. Is my prediction. But I'm going to go with Rigby right now, just on a knee-jerk reaction.
Okay, sounds good. And you mentioned Madison. Madison's number 3 in. I have Madison number 3 in Max Preps. Yeah, I think that's right. They have Madison is number 3. This was the one I was thinking of, Sean. Madison is number 3 in Max Preps. Guess where they are in the media poll? I haven't checked the coaches poll. If you can check that really fast, that'd be amazing. But in the media poll, Sean, they're unranked. They have votes, but they are unranked in the media poll, number 3 in Max Preps. Explain that one.
Yeah, it's the same in the coaches poll that came out today on IdahoSports.com. And no offense to the media, because we are the media, but I always take the coaches poll slightly a little more.
Right.
But in the coaches poll, they received votes, but not ranked.
Right.
But I mean, also you have a bunch of teams there, right? You have Rocky Mountain number 1, which obviously we're not going to talk about them. But that's a really good team. I think that maybe isn't getting as much hype as normally. You have Highland number 2. You have Eagle, which I also think Eagle is really, really good and kind of underrated. You have Coeur d'Alene, which I have a lot of mixed feelings about Coeur d'Alene, just due to some of their games. And then you have Rigby at number 5. And then it's, receiving votes is Madison, Bora, Timberline. But yeah, I mean, where do you put them in? Where do you put Madison in there? Right. Yeah. It's hard. Right. We don't have comparables right now. I would say like Highland and Rigby have probably played a harder record or harder season, maybe to a point at this point. And maybe that's why, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's only 5 spots, but if you're Madison, what a motivational too. And you probably don't care because you haven't lost a game, right? You haven't lost. And then until you play these big time conference opponents, the dust will settle then.
Yep. And so very looking forward to, and I said this in the Facebook chat with an East Idaho, I can't remember his name right now, but anyway, great guy. He does, I want to say Channel 7 sports. We were kind of chatting back and forth once the media poll came out, and basically he's saying, look, I put Madison, top 5. And I said, oh, that's fine, but this is probably why they're not top 5. And just said, I'm looking forward to the next few weeks, right, where Madison can prove themselves. Look, their offensive defensive lines are huge. I don't know if you can hear my kids in the background, but they're also protesting Madison not getting in the coaches and media poll. But Madison has amazing lines, and lines travel. Maybe your quarterback running whatever, but rushing game travels, defense travels. So Madison may surprise things, but until then, it's Rigby, Highland here in East Idaho, and obviously you have Rocky, Coeur d'Alene, Eagle, etc. Madison's in there in Max Preps, but for now, media coaches, I think we don't trust them because they haven't had a strong enough schedule.
Yeah, I would agree. And yeah, we'll just have to see. Was it Cade from Channel 6?
Yes. Yeah. Cade. That's right. Yeah. No,
Cade.
Yeah. Great dude. Love Cade. And
from KPVI Channel 6. He's been doing a good job of covering East Idaho sports. So shout out to him and his crew. So yeah, I mean, he's seen them. EastIdahoNews.com. They also are pretty big on Madison. Like, yep. we're not the only ones, right? I mean, it's a good team, but again, they've got to, you can be great, but you've got, in my opinion, one of the hardest conferences, right? With Rigby and Madison both sitting there, always going to state. It's either Rigby or Madison's been winning the state titles for the last, I don't know, forever.
Right.
So,
and that's if you want more football coverage, we're going to end there for football. And if you want more football coverage, tune in to the Gem State game day. It's going to broadcast Thursday morning in preparation for your weekend for all things football. We're going to move on and do golf. We're going to hit boys soccer, girls soccer, volleyball, cross country. And then that'll be the show for tonight. Let's do golf, Sean. We already have district tournament play going on. But first, we had the Gate City Invite last week. There were 7 6A schools, Sean, competing. Thunder Ridge boys won 300 with a score of 306. Justin Anderson won with a 70, which, again, we talked about this in high school golf. If you're in those low 70s, you're going to win a lot of tournaments. You're going to win a lot of matches. Madison boys came in second with 308. Then this past Tuesday, we got into district play. 5A District 5 had their district tournament, and that was at Preston Golf Course. Preston boys won, Century girls won, and they'll both claim those state tournament berths, Sean.
Yeah, definitely. It was the weather's been beautiful. They played down in Preston. The Century girls won pretty handedly, and then Preston and Century had been kind of battling, but Preston prevailed in districts, and they're going to take the team to state. And it'll be good. It's Preston and Century, these teams have been competing against like teams like Twin Falls, different places, because the state tournament will be in Burley this year. I don't know if you knew that, but I don't know if it's the first time I can remember the state tournament being in Burley. So that will be a cool, I think, tournament for 5A to be in Burley. Pretty central, right? Except for Northern Idaho, because they're not central to anything. But for Boise area and East Idaho, and pretty central for that 5A tournament in Burley, which I didn't know that until today, talking to my athletic director, Mark Pixton, and he couldn't remember it ever being in Burley either. So I don't know. We'll have to have Brandon fact check that or something, but it might be the first time ever.
Yeah, I like that kind of middle ground. And yeah, shout out to Ryan Skaggs in North Idaho. But yeah, nothing is central for North Idaho, right, Brandon? And then just looking ahead, we also have a couple more district tournaments. We got 6A District 6 district tourney at Highland Golf Course, so here in Pocatello, and then also tomorrow's Thursday, Sean. Man, this week is getting past me. So 6A's got their district tournament at Highland Golf Course. Beautiful golf course. The horseshoe is right there. Just a great place to play golf in the fall. And then tomorrow as well, 5A D6 district tournament is at Blackfoot Municipal Golf Course. Every time I drive by that golf course, I'm right there on I-15. I want to go hit a couple balls, but also they have a great Frisbee golf course there, man.
They have Frisbee golf in the summer. The little lake pond thing is full of water too. Totally. And playground there and everything. It's a
sweet tank.
It's a nice little area, right? There's some restaurants there too. It's a good time. And I know from years past, many people really like playing that Blackfoot Blackfoot course. It's a very well liked course for players, etc. I am terrible to golf, so I cannot comment, but from what I understand, most are really excited when it's there. And and just congrats to Idaho for moving golf to the fall. I think it's the weather is far better. They've got to play since the season started to the season ends, and what a difference that makes for the golf athletes in the higher divisions that switched. The lower ones didn't, but
Right.
I think it was a smart move.
I agree 100%. The spring is just it's way too unpredictable, and fall is obviously more predictable. The weather's really nice, and you can play golf in the fall. Very hard to play golf in the spring in Idaho when it could be snowing and it could be super sunny in March, but cold but sunny. But then it could be snowing in May, right?
I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, tennis coach in the spring. Just fighting to get games, fighting to get reps in the spring, and golf has that same problem. So yeah, shout out to the upper divisions in golf for putting golf into the fall. Makes our job a little bit harder, but we love celebrating all the sports, even though there are like a million to cover in the fall. Sean, you know what? We're gonna do a little. We're gonna pull an audible. And
Okay.
we're going to talk about volleyball, but more particularly, let's shout out the Bear Lake girls volleyball team. I always say girls volleyball because I'm from California. There's boys volleyball there. Utah now has boys volleyball, so I'm always specifying girls volleyball. But Bear Lake girls volleyball, Debbie Coons-Keach says they need some recognition. 100%, Debbie Coons-Keach. Thanks for your response, or thanks for your comment. Bear Lake girls volleyball has been dominant, Sean, this year. They have 2 losses, 3 losses, but volleyball losses are so strange because a lot of them are they're playoff losses, or not playoff, they're tournament losses. Yeah, so you're playing exactly. So and you're playing 5 games or maybe 3 games. You might lose one, but there's double eliminations. So volleyball losses, I think, are a little bit softer. And in a good way, right? Than like football, soccer, etc. So yeah, Bear Lake had been so dominant. They had a big goal of winning. There was that tournament in Wyoming like a month ago, Sean. It was the Cokeville Invitational, and Bear Lake girls volleyball had a specific goal to win that tournament. They've had that on their radar for years, and they finally pulled that one out. And since then, they've been on a tear. Like I said, they just have a few losses. Obviously,
9-game winning streak right now, dating back to their last loss was Sugar Salem, September 14th. So close,
which I believe is part of a tournament, right?
Yeah, it's only a 0-2 loss. So you're almost a month without a loss. Is Bear Lake right now? So doing a very good job with, I think pretty good wins against like a Grace team. Butte County twice.
That's a big deal.
Preston, who's in their division now. Some big wins. Marsh Valley, Century. But yeah, they've done nothing but since September 14th is win.
Yeah, 19-3 overall, 2-0 in conference. Bear Lake will most likely win their conference. Now there is Snake River right behind them at 2-0, but Snake River also has an overall record of 8-6, so not as impressive as Bear Lake's 19-3. So look to Bear Lake if you're a volleyball fan. Look for them to win their district tournament or win the regular season, win their district tournament, and get that berth, get that high seed to state. So congrats to Bear Lake volleyball. Thanks, Debbie Coons-Keach, for keeping us honest, and glad to shout out Bear Lake volleyball. Football team hasn't been so great. So great to see Bear Lake volleyball kind of carrying the banner for Bear Lake High School. All right, let's keep going with girls soccer, Sean. Girls soccer recap. Last week, a couple games that we were looking at. Number 1 Skyline played number 2 Hillcrest. Hillcrest beat Skyline 2-0. And then Pokey over Preston 6-1. Pokey will remain number 1 through district tournament. They should win their district, and they should get a high berth at state. And so interesting move there from Skyline, but interesting game there that Hillcrest beat Skyline 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, not really, because I talk about it all the time. And I just talked about this to Pat Lloyd. He used to be the athletic director at Idaho Falls. He's now assistant principal at Century, and he had a daughter who played soccer at Pocatello High School. So he's very in with the soccer crowd. So I was talking to him about, this District 6 soccer situation. And he said, yeah, it's just like you say, you don't really know, right? We know
Right.
Hillcrest is good. Skyline is good. And then also Idaho Falls, right? Girls are lurking there
They're
too.
right there.
That's a team that, they could, at the end of the day, maybe be 3 and win the conference. He talked about it. It's about, getting the best position possible to make it to that championship game, because then you're in and not having to play in for that second rep to state.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows what's going to happen? It's been interesting to watch.
The regular season ends Saturday for most teams, and they get into district play next week, including 6A. Looking ahead, Thunder Ridge at Madison for the 2 seed is coming up, and then IF versus Bonneville is what is playing tonight. They started at 7 p.m. Very interested to see what's going on there, because number 2 Skyline, now they're number 2 because Hillcrest beat them. Again, lots of parity there, like you mentioned, Sean. Number 2 Skyline, and then number 1 Hillcrest. So IF has to play Bonneville, Skyline, and Hillcrest. No, excuse me. So, yeah, that's right. IF plays Bonneville, Skyline, Hillcrest to end the season. Skyline plays Shelley, IF, and Bonneville to end the season. So their seeding for district play is in the fate of IF's Bonneville's hands to see who gets that 3rd slot, maybe even that 2nd slot. Tons of parity, super exciting for fans of girls soccer, especially here in East Idaho. And then, Sean, a very interesting game, not a conference game, but the final game of the season. I believe it's final game, Hillcrest at Pokey, which could be a potential first-round state matchup.
Yeah, that should be a good one. I think Pocatello right now, they're kind of in the driver's seat of their destiny and what they want to do. And, it'll be, if they win the game, I don't know how much it'll actually affect them going forward, because the likelihood of them winning districts, I think, is pretty high at this point. So,
right.
But it could be like, you play them late in the season and then end up playing each other first round.
Exactly right.
The tournament is what could be brewing. And I don't know if that's what you want. Maybe you want it. I don't know. It's hard. There's only 8 teams right in the bracket. So you got to play everyone to win it. So I think, does it mean something? I think, yeah, for a record, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to go to state and win.
For sure. And I think this will also help Max Prep's rankings, as they're all seeded per those Max Preps once the teams are all into state. And then, going down to 4A District 5, you have number 1 American Falls or number 2 Marsh Valley. We've already highlighted these teams last week, but who is going to have that top seed in district tournament play? Right now, American Falls, I believe, is number 1. Season ends Thursday. These two will likely meet in the district championship game. The loser, Sean, has to do the state play-in game, which is, this isn't the time to talk about Max Preps and playoff seeding and all that, but it's just too bad that 2 great teams, one will go and one will have to play that state play-in game, or that playing game for state.
Yeah, it's a tough, when you have small districts, the amount of reps you get to the state bracket is just, it's always tough. And a lot of times someone's going to get left out. And unfortunately, that's the way we do it in Idaho. And I'll just take a quote from a coach I know. He's like, what he says? Ryan Frost, Century basketball coach, says, just win then.
Yeah, well, for sure.
And I mean, you can complain and do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you got to win the games. And where it's tough, and sometimes someone that should be there should, in the tournament, because I think at the end of the day, most of us who follow the sports want the best tournament.
Right.
Unfortunately, those aren't in the parameters, and the parameters are win.
Yep. I mean, it just blows sometimes, because you might win, but because you're in a specific conference, the person above you has a higher strength of schedule or something, and you can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
And so
don't ask Preston basketball.
Right. Yeah, every year, for sure. So it's just too bad that it's also happening in soccer. It may happen in soccer this year as well. So that's girls soccer. Let's do boys soccer really fast, Sean. Looking ahead, we got we have Canyon Ridge at number 3 Madison. They're jockeying for that 2nd and 3 seed. 5A High Country Conference. Again, lots of parity, Sean. IF, Hillcrest, Skyline, they're still fighting for that 2 through 4 seed for their district tournament play. Century comfortably number 1, no problem. They should get to state as a top 2 or as a top 2 or 3 right now. They're Max Preps. They're number 2, Sean, just behind Wood River, who, by the way, they lost to this past
Saturday.
It was Saturday. Wood River won that game 5-3.
Yeah, and it was a battle. It was a high scoring game, is what you kind of expect from two teams. And Coach Rumiani of Century said he was kind of, he was kind of happy they lost, because now it's like, yeah, we know what we have to work for,
right?
And that's sometimes really motivating.
100%.
And the team I was going to say, though, the team we're not really talking about is Blackfoot boys.
Oh man, dominant.
Soccer. Yeah, Blackfoot boys. I don't think we've brought them up enough. They're a really good team. I mean, keep an eye out on them as district tournament starts off. They should be able to kind of come away with it. You have an Idaho Falls team, which I saw last night, which, let me tell you, that Idaho Falls team is a solid boys team. Maybe the fastest defensive line I've seen play soccer. These guys could run and track down balls. Century played Idaho Falls last night, senior night. Century won 4-3. It was a battle. So watch out for Idaho Falls. But I want to give some credit to Blackfoot, who's kind of quietly having a really, really good season. But again, District 6, you never know. They beat one team by 4 goals and then tie a team that hasn't won a game. So I don't know. But Blackfoot Broncos soccer doing work right now.
They sure are. And finally, this tomorrow, Teton at Sugar Salem. This could be a tune-up for the district championship game. Last game they played, Sugar Salem beat Teton 4-1. Again, this is 4A boys soccer. Teton is number 2 in the Max Preps, but Division 6, again, they only get 1 bid to state, and there's no play-in game. So Teton could be left out. Unless I'm wrong, someone out there, please correct me, because I think this is just super unfortunate. Teton, number 2 in Max Preps, could be left out because there's no play-in game. I'm hoping there's an auto bid somewhere. An at-large bid, but that's probably for another time. But yeah, really hope Teton somehow gets in, because again, only 1 bid for that Rivers Conference, the Mountain Rivers Conference for 6 divisions. 4A Division 6 soccer. So if Teton if that is the case, and Teton, there's no play-in game, no auto bid for your top 5 teams or whatever, then Teton needs to win this game against Sugar Salem, or you lose this game, but it's a good tune-up for the district championship game.
Yeah, it's tough. It's always tough with 3 teams. I don't know why they don't combine the 5A and the District 6 to get more bids, but I'm not in charge.
Yeah. We already talked a little bit about volleyball. So let's finish up, Sean, with cross country. A great recap we have on for you at the Bob Furman Invitational at Eagle Island in Boise, which is a little intro for where state's going to be, right, Sean? State's going to be at
Eagle Island.
Furman at Eagle Island in Boise. Actually in Eagle technically. But some great performances from our boys and girls teams here from East Idaho. The Division 2 race, Sugar Salem came in first, Snake River second, Preston third. This is boys, by the way. And then the Division 1 race, Section 1, this was A through L. Highland boys got first. Congrats to Highland boys. And then Section 1 M through Z, Division 1, Skyline boys got first as well. So great job from the boys racers there. And then there was an elite race where they got all the best times, combined all those runners. North Fremont's, this is coming from 3A, Sean. North Fremont senior Corbin Johnston clocked in at 15:39 for 17th place. Congrats to all those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you're new here, Joel, to the East Idaho Prepcast, but we've been talking about Corbin Johnson for a while. That guy can run. No surprises there. I mean, the Bob Furman, it's 5,000 athletes, right? Brandon and Paul Kingsbury talked about it today on their Prepcast. And yeah, it's just they're saying how there's so many Utah schools too. It's the premier event maybe in the West, right? For cross country, not the Northwest, it like the West. I don't know if there's a bigger cross country event, and East Idaho showed up and did well. And again, we've talked about Highland boys. They're having a heck of a season on the cross country side. They were our team of the week a few weeks back, and
Yeah.
continuing that and making me and you look good.
Absolutely. And then moving to girls, Division II girls, Ryrie, Preston, Sugar, Salem, 1, 2, 3, boom. And then Division I, Section 1, A through L again. Highland girls got third, making us look good. Division I, Section 2, M through Z, Thunder Ridge came in fourth, Skyline came in sixth. And then in the elite race, who else, Sean, but Madison senior Brimley William got 12th place, clocking in at 18:26. Sean, she was the fastest East Idaho girl. So congrats to all those girls.
Yeah, it's just a phenomenal job. And the Eagle Island course isn't like a difficult course, but it was extremely hot. I talked to a coach, in Pocatello, it was in the 90s Saturday. And so they said it was about 98 degrees last Saturday in Eagle, not Boise, right? But super hot. And I don't know if, cross country October, you're not thinking 90s. I don't think that pops up in anyone's mind for Idaho, but just an extremely great job by East Idaho teams there. And what a great preparation for districts and state.
So speaking of preparations, looking ahead for cross country, we got Bob Conley this weekend, Sean, here in East Idaho. It's going to be at the Portneuf Wellness Complex in Pocatello. It's Thursday, and most East Idaho teams are participating. You also have middle school teams participating. My son, who's in 7th grade, he's going to be participating from Irving Middle School, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you ever been to it? It's kind of a fun little race because they kind of put some different rows in it, and the Portneuf Wellness Center, it's kind of where I live on the northeast side of town, and there's like an amphitheater. They've done state there, which is really cool because they use the amphitheater to hand out the awards and stuff. I'm not sure if they'll be using that at this race, but the venue's kind of got everything, got a little water feature, hopefully no one jumps in, but I think they should make them run through the sand, like the beach part,
Right.
It adds some difficulty, but that's just me. But it should
be
a
Chariots of Fire, man.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not the biggest area, but there's enough space to make it, I think, really phenomenal for watching, right? So because sometimes cross country, you can only watch certain parts. Really, at the Wellness Center, you could probably watch the whole thing from different vantage points.
And state was there last year, which was a lot of fun. I got to watch my nephew run there. He was from, I believe, Valley View High School, did a good job. And so looking forward to Bob Conley, and good job to all our runners at Bob Furman. One more comment here from the from the audience out here in East Idaho, from, I believe that's Turo, asks, when state for boys 5A soccer? Turo, we got the information right here. East Idaho Prepcast, #1 Prepcast in Idaho sports. It's 5A girls, 5A boys are going to be at Hillcrest High School and Bonneville High School, respectively. Girls at Hillcrest, boys at Bonneville. It's going to be October 24th to the 26th, Mr. Turo. So we're getting really close. We have districts starting next week, if not this weekend, for most East Idaho, for all of East Idaho, and then we get ready for district for state coming up towards the end of the month. Hopefully that answered your question, Turo. Sean, what do you got this weekend? Where are you going to be?
I will be at a lookout field against Pocatello versus Twin Falls in some 5A football, which I think is kind of a big game. It has a lot of implications. I think Twin Falls is good. I think Pocatello is good. You have, obviously, I think it's like right now, if you just looked it up, it's going to be like Minico, Twin Falls, right? They haven't played yet, but that's coming. For Pocatello, I think it's a big game for them to get a win in 5A. Losing to Blackfoot hurts. Losing to Highland doesn't hurt as much because they're a higher division, defending state champs. Kind of a big game, I think, for both teams to kind of put them in a place, right? Put them in where are they in this place, right? I think that we'll have some answers after that game.
Yeah, I love that. I love that breakdown. And I think especially those two teams are could be future state opponents. So having that game, knowing who they are and knowing who Twin Falls is as they go into the rest of their conference play is going to be very interesting. I'm going to be at Rigby Highland, going to be broadcasting with Brandon Bainey. And we already talked about that game. Really looking forward to that one. I really want to see who Rigby is. I want to see what Highland does against a good team like Rigby. That's going to do it for us here on the East Idaho Prepcast. For my partner and tie-wearing #1 prepcaster in Idaho, Sean Kane, I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week on the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.